Welcome to the Family Meeting Podcast. We're glad you're with us today. We are gearing up and all ready for Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
That's pretty cool.
I can smell the turkey already.
Thomas makes an epic turkey every single year. It's always phenomenal. So what we want to hear from you is who makes the turkey in your house. Turkey is important.
Yeah.
But sides are important too.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta have both. Like, both have to be really, really good. And we have this figured out in our home. Like, I do sides, he does turkey.
Yep.
His turkey is phenomenal. My sides are okay. And it's amazing. You're supposed to jump in and be like, no, your sides are phenomenal.
This is not our first Thanksgiving meal this year either already. So we had Friendsgiving, was it last week or the week before?
Last week.
Last week, had friends over. So typically, I think most people have 2 or 3 Thanksgiving meals.
Yeah.
But tomorrow's the actual Thanksgiving.
How are my sides?
They are amazing.
Under threat of violence. But we are excited about Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. Now, one of you in your home is the spouse that's like, let's invite everyone over for Thanksgiving. And one of you in the home is the person who's like, no, stop. Which one is which?
I'm not exactly excited about everybody coming over that's going to be here on tomorrow for Thanksgiving.
That is not true.
We'll see.
You're such a liar. But yeah, we do have people coming over tomorrow and we're very excited. But I want to know who makes the turkey, who makes the sides. Or is one person making everything? That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
It can be done.
It's a lot. And it's for some people, it's super stressful because a lot of people only host a big meal maybe once a year. Maybe a couple times, if you do Easter or whatever. But for a lot of people, it's the most people they'll have over to their house for a meal all year long. And so that comes with a lot of stress. You see this on TV shows and a lot of other things. And it's like,
I think it's true to life for most people.
Yeah.
But actually tomorrow we have fewer people coming over than we usually do. So tomorrow's actually going to be very stress-free for us.
Yeah, we had more people at our Friendsgiving than we're having tomorrow.
Yeah, we only have 4 extra people coming tomorrow.
5.
Oh, yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5 extra.
5 extra. So it's not...
There's only 11 of us.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal, but...
But, yeah. And it's nice that our daughter Isabella is back in town. She's on Thanksgiving break.
Thanksgiving.
What time is it?
Thanksgiving break.
When is Thanksgiving?
Look, babe, we have leaves falling. It's fall time.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in Florida, we do have one tree that turns color and leaves drop. We love it.
It does until I cut it down to put a pool in. But
that's a discussion for another episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this one started, babe.
All right, here we go. Because I got a turkey to get ready. Gather around, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my wife, the amazing side dish maker.
Hello, and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 270 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to discuss being married to a chronically ill person. This is really a difficult thing, but we want to talk about loving through chronic illness, how to stay connected, compassionate, and strong in marriage. And as we were getting ready for this episode, we realized that this episode really needs to be presented from 2 perspectives. One is the perspective of the caregiver, which is what we're talking about this week. And next week, we're going to talk about it as the perspective of the person who is receiving the care, the spouse who is chronically ill, because it hits each spouse a little differently.
Yep.
They have a different burden. Both have a burden, but the burden looks a little bit different. And so we're going to talk about practical ways. So first, we want to talk in both episodes about like what's difficult about this and how you must feel, and the feelings that are normal, because I think a lot of times when we're in something like this, we start to feel like I'm the worst person ever because I feel this way. But to understand that like it's a normal way to feel when you're under the pressure you're under. And then we want to talk about practical things that you can do that can help you if this is your story.
Well, and we have just a little bit of insight in this personally. After with our third daughter's birth, right? Wasn't it with Abigail? Mm-hmm. It was with Abigail. Lysandra developed a health issue, went on for 13 years. Mm-hmm. before having life-saving surgery in 2021. But for about a year of that was, a lot of significant change in her health and what she was able to do and accomplish. So
yep.
It gave us a little taste of what some of you go through and have gone through for years and years and years.
Right.
And just gave us a lot more compassion for those of you who do deal with it on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And it's just part of your life. And I think about, the vows that we take.
Yep.
In sickness and in health. And a lot of times when we say the vows, we think about the health and we think about how great and wonderful everything is all the time. But sometimes literally that sickness comes out, and that is a part of what we have to deal with. But before we jump into the conversation we're going to have over the next couple of weeks, we are just moments away from Christmas. I know that's hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't really like talking about Christmas before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. And so I prefer to think more about Thanksgiving than Christmas. But what do you want to say about Christmas?
Well, most people start Christmas shopping before Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. I've already got Christmas gifts, yes.
Yes, and so we do that because, that way you're not stuck with the last minute run to the gas station gifts, fellas. Because a lot of times that's what it is. And so we're thinking about Christmas time, and what a great gift to give to your spouse is time spent together, working on your relationship, growing closer to each other, closer to God. And I want to suggest 31 days of wisdom for couples.
Yeah.
As a Christmas gift to give your spouse this year. You can get that on Amazon. If you just type that in, 31 Days of Wisdom for Couples. Type in Lysandra Osterkamp and you'll see everything we have available there. That's kind of the easiest way to find it. But you can also go to familymeeting.org/shop, get your signed autograph copies there. But jump on there as soon as possible. Make sure you gets out to you in time for Christmas. Get it nice and wrapped and underneath the tree. And like we said, it's more than just purchasing a devotional book. It's about a commitment to spend time growing in your relationship together. And that is one of the most beautiful things about it, because every day for a month, you're going to be looking at a chapter of Proverbs, and we just pull a verse or two out of each chapter, whatever chapter it is for that day, and just kind of look at it through the lens of marriage. And then at the end of the devotional, there's some discussion questions for you to stop and to think about, go over with your spouse, to work specifically on that thing and apply it to your marriage. And that's one of the things that I love the most about it. We get into the Word, we talk about our relationship, and then we take the Word and we specifically apply it to our relationship. And so familymeeting.org/shop, and you can see the 31 Days of Wisdom for Couples there.
All right. So as we kind of get into our discussion today, maybe you're thinking, listen, neither me nor my spouse are chronically ill. This does not apply to us. Skip, turn off.
Doesn't apply to you yet.
Yeah. But I will tell you this. I did not expect in a million years that I would begin to have a chronic health issue. I was only 23 years old.
Yeah, when it started, yeah.
I was 23.
Yep.
So you think about that, and I did not have it fixed, and I was not free of it until I was like 36 maybe.
Yeah.
So that's young. It can happen at any age.
Well, for those who are new to the podcast, can you just kind of explain, not in great detail, but kind of the basics of what you were dealing with, how we came to the conclusion that it's okay to live like that, and then kind of what led up to getting life-saving surgery?
Sure. So without being too detailed or graphic, because it's not a very pretty thing to talk about, but
like, she's okay, talk about it if you want to ask her about it personally, but
I'm not embarrassed to talk about it, but you may be like, I wish I never heard that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I had 3 babies really close together. So I was bleeding regularly, like all the time. And it would be worse with stress, which I didn't figure that out until probably like 7 years in, which is so funny.
Yeah.
But I went to the free clinic because we didn't have any health insurance. And I just said, like, I'm bleeding all the time. And is this okay? Is this normal? Am I okay? And one of the doctors there who, now looking back, I understand this. I was so young. I was only 23. And they were definitely trying to just kind of get me out the door.
Yeah, I don't know what the situation was. Like, I don't know if there were, like, they had to give hours away. I don't know the reason why this doctor was at the clinic.
Some doctors you could tell like they cared about the patients, and others it felt like maybe they were doing community service.
Yeah, it's like, are you court ordered to be here?
I think some may have been. I don't know. But anyway, so, or it could be like their firm or their group was, everybody had to take a turn. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, so this particular doctor, it was very clear now looking back that they didn't want to be there. And they basically told me, yes, you can bleed every day and still be fine. Some people do that. And I was like, oh, okay. So fast forward 13 years of me telling myself, you can bleed every day and be okay. I was unbelievably severely anemic to where my organs were shutting down. And
I think part of the issue was it was getting slowly worse over time. And so when that happens, you don't necessarily realize that it's getting that much worse, right?
Right. The amount of blood I was losing at the beginning was nowhere near the amount of blood I was losing at the end.
Well, I remember one time, and this was a very long, like this is a decade in or more. I noticed one time how much you were bleeding, and I was like, is this how much is that going, like, happening every day?
And I was like, multiple times a day.
And I'm like, this is insane.
You're like, that can't be right. And I was like, the doctor said 13 years ago that it's fine.
But her body was working very hard to try to keep up. Mm-hmm. And it just got to a point where it was like, we can't keep up. And so it went from like trying to hold steady to her just
crashing,
nosediving.
Yeah. So I couldn't walk. I couldn't lift things. I couldn't shower myself. And eventually, like the day that I went into the emergency room, I couldn't even shut my mouth. My mouth was just open.
No, normally her mouth is open, but that's by choice.
Yeah, exactly. That's because I love to talk. But anyway, so Thomas carried me into the emergency room. My blood level was like 2.3. And they said they had never seen anyone conscious come into the ER with this blood level.
Yeah.
And they couldn't believe that I was conscious. And they right away started giving me blood and iron infusions and then surgery like the next day. A really awful, horrible recovery. And then I've been so much better. But through that time, there was an 11-month stretch where my back was out because maybe you didn't know this. We certainly did not. If you're anemic, it can affect so many parts of you, including hair loss and everything, and which I had that.
Hair loss, headaches, back pain.
Yes, I had all of those things. And so the back pain was part of it. But for 11 months, there were different time periods where I would have, my back would be out. But for 11 months, it was out. That was the longest stretch. And, when you're 10 months into very severe pain that you've had every single day, you start to believe this is my new life for the rest of my life. I am going to live like this forever.
Yeah.
And I think that you probably felt that way as well.
Oh,
like you were going to be taking care of me forever now.
And at a relatively, young age. You were 36 when you had the surgery.
Yeah. So I think that was early 30s when the back pain was at its peak. But all that to say, we have had a portion of this in our lives, right? Some of you have been told by doctors, you will not get better. This is what you have, and you will be like this or worse until the day you die. And that is a very difficult sentence to be given.
Yeah.
Whether it is your spouse or yourself that's been given this sentence, it is a sentence for your marriage. Because it comes into play in every aspect of your marriage, whether you're the person with the chronic illness or it is your spouse.
Yeah.
So this is a 2-part episode. Today we want to start by talking about the person who is not chronically ill, but is the caretaker of the chronically ill person. And we're going to talk about how it affects the marriage, the home, daily rhythms, and emotional world of both spouses. What is it really like to be married to a chronically ill spouse? If you haven't been there, you don't fully understand. But there's emotional exhaustion and disruptive plans, living with uncertainty, And it's difficult. And what we want to do today is we don't want to just focus on the negative, but we want to offer hope and practical tools for couples who are walking this difficult road, or maybe you will walk it in the future, or maybe you know someone and they are walking this road right now.
And there are hidden burdens that the spouse of a chronically ill person carry. If you're married to a chronically ill person, this can help you to affirm the feelings you have that they're normal and reasonable.
Right.
And if you know someone who's married to a chronically ill person, this can help you to support and love them well.
Right.
So we'll talk about some of these things. First thing that I think about is chronic emotional fatigue.
Yeah.
You think about just the burden that comes with being the caretaker. On whatever level that you have to take care of them. You know, some things are more severe than others depending on what you can do. But, you know, I'm thinking back to all the things that I had to pick up slack on that Lysandra was not able to do anymore. Now, you did as much as possible. Like, you would get up for a while, do a few things through pain, and then go lay back down again for a few minutes until your back pain was tolerable for you, which I think you have an extremely high pain tolerance. Like, if it was me, oh, geez, I would not have been getting up.
You wouldn't even get out of bed. I don't believe you. Yeah. No, like, I remember leaning over the sink to do dishes, balancing on my elbows because it was the least painful way to do dishes. I lived like that for months and months and months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still did laundry, but you had to carry, I couldn't carry the laundry, right? So I could get the laundry and get it out. I could fold it. I could even put it away, but I could not carry the baskets, you know, things like that.
But even at, like, I think about the worst it got. I actually have this memory from one of the Thanksgivings when we were still living in Iowa. We would get together with Lysandra's family, and we'd do, for Thanksgiving, we would do a trip to the Wisconsin Dells, stay at a resort and a water park and all that. And I have a memory of you laying on the coffee table up at the resort.
Yeah, it just came up on Facebook.
And I was painting your toenails to try to. You like your toenails painted, makes you feel pretty and feminine. And so
I couldn't reach them.
Couldn't reach them, so I was painting your toenails.
You painted my toenails for months and months and months.
Yep.
In between, and then my back would get better, and then I would go out again, and we'd be back at square one again. And
I think I did a better job at painting your toenails than you did.
I'm certain you did. I do a terrible job.
Sandra paints her toenails, and it's like half her toe is painted. Like, what is going on here?
Good enough.
Yeah. She's like, from way up here, it looks good down there. So I'm like, okay.
Just don't get too close.
But just taking on...
Everybody's going to be looking at my toenails. This is not good.
You're welcome.
I'm going to have to actually go get a pedicure. Ooh,
yeah.
I hate those.
Which is crazy because some people actually love it.
I hate them.
They like look forward to it all the time. I might like it. I don't know.
I think you would love a pedicure.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll have to go sometime
I've never
together.
done it.
Maybe Valentine's Day, that's what we'll do.
But, you know, even those simple things where it's like they're not able to do that for themselves. And caregivers often experience burnout, but silently, right? Because you feel like you have no right to complain when your partner is the one suffering physically.
Yes.
Like, my partner's going through this extremely difficult thing where literally can't paint her own toenails any longer. Like, how much of a jerk, and that's a light word, how much of a jerk would it be for me to complain about having to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. So even though it is frustrating to have to add more to your schedule and you're picking up all the slack wherever it may be, depending on what, your spouse has, then you're such a jerk if you complain about it, is what it seems like.
Yeah.
But the truth is you have a right to feel how you feel too.
It is a privilege to step up and take responsibility in that way. But it is a huge burden as well. Like, one of the beautiful things about marriage is, sharing that responsibility and sharing the burden. And in a time where you're married to somebody who's chronically ill that can't do a whole lot, and like I said, there's different levels. So, like, physically may not be able to do a whole lot, but they can still, balance the checkbook or whatever on the phone or whatever. you have to carry a heavier burden than you normally do. And it gets tiring.
It does.
It gets tiring emotionally.
That's right. So definitely chronic emotional fatigue is a reality for you, and understand that's normal. Another thing is the role strain that comes into play here, because now not only are you the spouse, but you become caregiver, advocate, the scheduler, the financial planner, the household manager, the housekeeper, you're everything.
One taking care of the kids.
Yeah, you're the chauffeur. Yeah. You're juggling now everything by yourself, plus taking care of someone who is very, very ill.
Yeah.
And this shift can kind of distort the balance of the marriage, and all of a sudden it feels off balance. And the truth is, it is off balance. It's not the same as when you walked into this thing.
Yeah.
It's not, and sometimes there's this maybe even feeling of like, this isn't what I signed up for. None of us, I would say most of us, did not get married knowing that our spouse would become chronically ill.
Yeah.
Like most of the time it doesn't happen that way. I know that there are exceptions to that. But now there's this balance. The roles are imbalanced again. And it can create this sense of loneliness of, this is not fair. This is not fair. And I think sometimes you just feel so guilty for feeling these things. But this is a normal way to feel. Like, it's okay to feel that way. You shouldn't stay there, and staying in that can be really bad and become bitter and all of that. But understand, like, these feelings are going to come up, and it's okay. Like, feel the feelings, recognize them, name them, understand that they are there, and then work through them. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
And this next one is something I felt, and friends that I have who, they're taking care of a chronically ill spouse. They've talked about this as well. And that is grief for the relationship as it was.
Right.
Because I think about what our relationship, it is now and it was before, but for an extended period of time, it wasn't this way, where we have a shared spontaneity, where we just decide we're going to get up and go and do something, or physical intimacy. Like you're dealing with somebody in Lysandra's case, who's dealing with issues of bleeding and severe back pain, where it's like moving at all or whatever. It's like your sex life is not the same as it used to be.
No,
it's totally different.
And I remember, this is not the topic of this conversation, but the way that it affected our sex life, like, I remember going through the motions, and I remember in my mind being like, ignore the pain. Like, it was painful for me to do that. But I remember thinking, like, I need to do this because my spouse needs this. And, like, just literally pushing through the pain to make that happen.
And then as a spouse, when you understand your spouse is doing that without telling you about it, and it's like, you really don't want to initiate anymore, because
you don't want to do that to them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's obviously going to affect the relationship as it used to be.
And so you're kind of grieving that loss as well, but also the future they thought they would have.
Oh,
right?
Man.
Because like you said, it gets to a point where you're like, okay, this is my life now. And for some of you, you've had to come to the reality where it's like, unless God does a miracle, and as Christians, we believe that He is the great physician, that miracles are possible.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Yes.
I've watched it. I've prayed for people and had their next cancer diagnosis be gone.
Just disappear. It can happen. Absolutely.
So,
God can do
so
it.
I believe that. I believe that power is there. But, humanistically speaking, it's like you've had to come to a place where, like, okay, this is our life from now on. And it's not going to change unless God were to intervene. And so the future that we thought we would have, right? And for some, it's like maybe the future of having kids, like, that's gone. Or the future of, hey, us ever taking a trip together. Wow. We used to love to travel. We can't do that anymore. Or we can't even just walk around the block anymore. Like, we used to take walks together. and now we can't walk around the block anymore. Like, whatever you thought the future was going to be, whether it's the short-term future or like retirement, what you were going to plans and all of that kind of stuff, like there is that loss for, you're feeling that grief for what the relationship, used to be, or what you had hoped and what you dreamed, and now that's over. And that is a part of the process, is learning how to grieve that. And that's a difficult thing.
That's right. Another thing that oftentimes caregivers are dealing with is suppressed resentment and guilt. So as you are dealing with taking care of your spouse and everything, all the pressure that is on you, oftentimes you might feel like resentment for the demands of the situation. And then immediately following that, you feel guilt because I felt resentment. And that is like an emotional cycle that just keeps spinning around, right? I feel resentment. Now I feel guilt because I felt resentment. I talk myself out of the resentment. No, it's not her fault. It's not his fault. Blah, 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 blah. Then you feel a little bit better. And pretty soon something else comes up and you feel resentment because now your plans got changed. You can't do this, whatever. And then the guilt. And this is a cycle.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to make sure that you allow God to get in the middle of that cycle. Allow his word, the truth of scripture, to get in the middle of that cycle and help you with that. But this isn't the practical.
Right.
This isn't the practical tool side.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. I can't help it.
Yet. Don't give people tools to work through it yet.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Just a minute.
Yeah. We want to continue to dig that hole a little deeper before we help you get out of it. All right. Another thing dealing with is hypervigilance. The fact that you're always on alert for medical changes, emergencies, emotional dips in their partner.
It's exhausting.
You're basically caregivers, to a certain extent, depending on how severe the issue is that you're dealing with, they live in a near constant state of tension. And it's like the first responders, firefighters that I deal with as the chaplain, and get to see that firsthand, where it's like they're always on alert. They don't sleep well and all these kind of things because they've been kind of trained for that constant state of emergency, never knowing when that next call is going to come through, that next alert's going to pop up. And even a tone that's like they're off of work and they hear a tone that's similar to the tone for the alert, like all of a sudden like their adrenaline's full rushing and everything else.
Yeah.
And in a similar way, it's not the same, but in a similar way, like if your spouse is chronically ill, you've kind of trained yourself to constantly be listening, watching, thinking about what is the next thing that's going to happen that I'm going to have to help them with. And they're going to need my help. And so you're not getting a lot of sleep and you're not getting rest and you're not able to relax and let things go because you're constantly in this state of high alert to make sure that you're taking care of everything that your spouse needs when they need it.
It's going to take its toll on you. Another thing is feeling like your emotional needs are invisible. Because you feel like, okay, my emotional needs become secondary now to their spouse. Okay, so my spouse is sick. My spouse is ill. My spouse is hurt, whatever it may be. So my emotional needs are not as important as theirs. They're going through this. It's just hard on them. So, you kind of put yourself secondary to everyone, or maybe everyone else puts you secondary, or maybe both, right? You even become secondary to healthcare providers or to the family system and the family unit, the dynamic in your family. And you may feel unseen. You may feel underappreciated or emotionally alone. This kind of comes with the territory. Feeling unseen. And you can have the most grateful spouse, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much. But there's no way that they can possibly know everything you're doing. And they can't thank you for everything. And even their words of thanks can become meaningless after years and years and years.
Sure.
Where you still feel underappreciated. And you can become kind of isolated. You can feel emotionally isolated. And so these are some of the things that you may be dealing with. And of course, that loss of physical intimacy goes along with it, right? There are physical barriers that come on. And oftentimes it's the chronic illness that creates this physical challenge, and it directly affects the sexual intimacy. Also, fatigue, like physical fatigue, comes into play. Pain comes into play. Even a gentle touch or a certain position can make, the spouse feel so much pain. Also, there's medication and the side effects of medication that can come into play. And some medications reduce libido, and they make other things not work the way it's supposed to.
What do you mean?
I'm not going to go into detail there. If you want to, you go ahead.
Okay.
But it's all about, it affects more than just the emotional. It affects more than just, the schedule or the finances, which there's the finances.
Yeah.
The amount of medication or, herbal supplements or doctor's visits or surgeries or whatever it is, this is going to affect your finances. That affects the stress of the home. And the caregiver is now the sole earner.
Yeah.
Because obviously the chronically ill person typically cannot bring in an income. So you're looking at now this triple burden, basically.
Yeah. Well, in this we don't get political on this podcast, and this is not about this, but our medical system is just so broken.
Right. Yes, it is.
And the financial pressure and everything that it places upon a family is just so overwhelming, that just adds more stress and more pressure to an already difficult situation where it's like you're just trying to do everything you can to help your spouse get better and everything else, and then you add these financial burdens and pressures on top of all that. And so but let's talk so we kind of dug a little hole here of darkness and misery. Let's help people kind of climb out of it, maybe give some practical strategies to support your chronically ill spouse without losing yourself.
All right. So the first thing that we want to kind of suggest to you is to set boundaries that are going to protect your energy, your emotional stability, and whatever else you need, right? Maybe it's the physical side of you. But setting boundaries is not necessarily selfish, right? It can be. It can move into that, I think, if it's not balanced. But loving boundaries are not selfish. They're necessary. So decide what you can do consistently and what you cannot do. And be honest with your spouse about your limits. Hey, you have limits.
Yeah.
Maybe someone needs to tell you that. You have limits, and that's okay because you're a human being.
Well, and we have limits in every area, right? So
yes.
we have emotional limits, or it's like I can carry a certain amount of this burden or this weight or this pressure. Physical limits, depending on what's going on. Like you get to a point where it's no longer safe for me to be the one walking mom to the bathroom or trying to help her shower or, where it's like now I'm risking not just hurting her, I'm risking hurting myself as well. And so we all have boundaries in all these different areas.
Absolutely. Yes. So it's really important that you be honest with your spouse about your limits and give yourself permission to pause and rest. And you may need to say these words, not right now. So maybe your spouse, is asking for you to cook something for them or is asking you to do this or bring this or whatever. There may be times when you need to set up a boundary and say, not right now. I will, but I need a minute. And that's an okay thing to do because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
You have got to take care of yourself. It's like the oxygen mask in the airplane, right? You put it on yourself before you put it on the person next to you who needs the help. You have to be alive in order to help them. So boundaries allow you to keep giving without burning out. So this is one way that you're going to protect yourself from burnout. And if you do burn out, then you're no good to them. Like you're gonna be leaving the relationship. You're gonna be giving up or whatever. So this is an important thing: is doing that, understanding boundaries and understanding that they're okay, they're healthy, as long as they're done in a healthy way.
I think that's great advice. I think to go along with this is creating a shared care plan. Mm-hmm. You know, instead of carrying everything alone, create a realistic plan. And I think like we don't like to ask for help, right? Mm-hmm. And that can be difficult for some people. But here's the thing to kind of remember, right? Even Superman had the Justice League.
Yes.
Like even Superman had support. And so you don't have to carry this burden yourself.
Right.
And so you're working to develop a realistic plan that includes a couple different things. First of all, what your spouse can safely do, right? So what can they do for themselves safely and realistically that you don't have to do?
And I think what's funny about this one is that sounds very simple. What can they do? Oh, we all know we can do this, we can't do that. But I think when you are in this chronically ill situation, you have people who so desperately want independence. They so desperately want to help. So they will put themselves in danger to try to do something as simple as go get themselves a glass of water.
Yeah.
And they really shouldn't be getting up
yeah.
or whatever it may be. So this might be something where you really have to sit down and talk about every detail.
Yeah.
And as maybe even the way to do this is as things come up. So you're just living your normal day. As things come up, you have like a little whiteboard or you have a list on your phone or whatever where it's, I can do this, I can't do that. And so it's like, okay, we just learned because you fell on the way to the bathroom, you can't go to the bathroom by yourself.
Yep.
But we learned that while you were in the bathroom, you could wipe yourself. Okay. Yep. So this is a can do, can't do list. And you may have to go through all of this stuff. And of course it can change because our health changes, right? Typically you're not the same exact way forever, even if you have the same chronic illness for a long time. You can get better and worse, and it waxes and wanes oftentimes, and strength goes and comes. So keeping this, I think, current.
Yeah.
Communicating really well, and maybe even writing things down. In the hospital, they write down on the whiteboard.
Yep.
Can't go to the bathroom by themselves, must have lift help, whatever it may be. And they write down what this patient can and cannot do. And so I think that could maybe be a help in that too.
Yeah, because it's like there were certain things you could, in it ebbed and flowed, like you talked about, certain things you could and could not do for yourself, like because of your back situation. There are times where you literally couldn't paint your toenails, where you couldn't walk to the bathroom, you couldn't walk to the shower. Now, once I got you there, you could take care of yourself. But then when you were done in the shower, it's like you would call for me, and I would walk you back to the bed, and things like that. So, what is it that your spouse can safely do in the season that they're in? I think the next part of that is, and we're talking about a realistic plan. So this is realistically what you can handle. Yeah. Because we talked about the fact we all have limits, right? What is it that you can handle? Because medically, I'm not a doctor. I don't know much medically, right? So there's certain things that if Lysandra requires it, I'm not able to help with that realistically. I can't do that. And so, but there's a lot of things that I realistically can handle. I'm in pretty good shape. So physically, like getting Lysandra around is not a big deal for me. Household chores and things like that, taking care of the girls when they were smaller, now they take care of me. But
yeah, but even that question of what can you handle as the caregiver, I think it can be different, like on a weekly basis as if we're talking very long term, right?
Yep.
So you may be able to say, yeah, like I can do the dishes for a week. Can you do the dishes for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Right. So thinking about that too, if you have a situation where like this is how it's going to be, like there's not a lot of hope for change with the exception of the Lord intervening with a miracle, then we've got to think long term and what can I actually handle long term? Because man, it is amazing the difference about time. You can handle so much for a short amount of time. But when we're talking months turning into years, what you can handle goes so much smaller.
Yeah, and I think about this in terms of running. It's like most people when they run, like they have to know what's the goal line.
I have to know.
What's the end line?
Yes.
And as long as they know what the end line is, great. there's few people that they just love running, and it's like they could just go and go and go, and it doesn't really matter when they're finished. They're just going to go. And that's the way most of us are for life, where it's like, as long as I know there's light at the end of the tunnel, great. But if your spouse is chronically ill, there's no set time when it's like, okay, they're going to get better. Because even if it's like, okay, we're going to get them to this surgery, well, you don't know what recovery is going to be like.
Absolutely.
You don't know what's going to happen after that. Like, and so there's so many unknown things when it comes to taking care of a chronically ill person. And so what can you realistically handle? All right. And then what can be outsourced? Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that when we talk about outside support in just a second. Lysandra's going to share some things with us. But you do not have to do everything yourself. You say, well, I can't afford to pay somebody to do X, Y, or Z. There's other alternatives.
Yes.
And so thinking about what can and should be outsourced. And part of your plan is emergency instructions, daily and weekly routines.
I think the thing that's so good about having emergency instructions and daily and weekly routines is that it takes away some of that unknown and the fear of the unknown. So it's like, okay, we have a plan in place. If this happens, then we will do this. When this happens, we will do this. And so I think that it can limit the anxiety and the fear of like, man, if that happens, I don't even know what we're going to do. Yeah. Like, at least we have a plan, and there's something that can feel very comforting about a plan. And so that can be really good.
Well, and it also reduces decision fatigue.
Yes, right.
Like we all have gotten there where it's like there's times, and I'm typically one that, hey, I can make decisions, and I don't mind making decisions like that if the circumstances calls for it. But there's times where it's like I'm exhausted in a lot of different ways. I don't want to figure out what's for supper.
Right, exactly.
Like,
yep.
I don't even want to figure out what we're going to put on to watch TV at night because I'm just so tired. Like, just choose something. And when you are carrying so many burdens, like that decision fatigue gets even more real.
Well, and you think about like the daily and weekly routines, like how often does your spouse need to shower?
Yeah.
You know, and putting that down somewhere. So like we don't have to think about that. It's just we do that on this day and this day and this day, you know, or whatever. But trying to release yourself from some of those mundane decisions.
And it also prevents you from becoming a default for every task.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're not doing it alone. But typically, if you don't have a plan, it's just like something comes up and you're like, I'll do it.
I'll do it. I gotta do it.
I'll take care of it. I'll go get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't and shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like you should develop people around you. And this kind of brings us to the next thing.
Yeah. That
Lysandra's going to share with us.
Yeah.
That involve outside support.
Yeah.
So what is it that we do need to outsource, and how can we do that?
Well, understanding that no one is meant to do long-term caregiving alone. This is not a one-person thing. You need support, and it's okay to need support. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're not enough for your spouse. It doesn't mean you're a bad spouse, okay? You need support. And support can look different for each family, right? But here's some options that you need to be thinking about, right? Family members. That's where you would start, right? That's what family is about. We are the family meeting. We are all about family relationships and being there for one another. So family members, this could be your children, adult children, teenage children, even your small children. Like I remember when I was ill, the girls picked up the slack and they were little.
They helped in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, when it started, Abigail was a baby.
Yep.
That means the other two were 1 and 2, right? So this went on for 13 years, right? But
they would do things like refill your water or little things like that.
Yes. They were in charge of keeping my water full. It was like so cute. Or they would, be able to fold certain laundry items. They couldn't, this is where I should probably let some things go looking back now.
You should
have.
But
I would not let them fold clothes because I didn't want them to wrinkle or be folded weird. So like they could fold all the towels, but not the clothes, But even that was helpful, right?
Yeah.
They could put the clothes away sometimes, but I was also kind of particular about that. I'm a little particular sometimes.
Sometimes and a little.
But what can they do? What can your children do? If they're adult children, they should absolutely be helping out. Maybe you need family members like your brothers and sisters or the grandparents to come in and run errands or take your children to events or extracurriculars or whatever? How can the grandparents help with transportation?
Well, and I think about just, your family, especially at times when I had to go different places or do different things or work, there's a lot of times where your family would step in, your mom or your sister would come and sit with you and help you. And so just little things like that. I mean,
they mean so much.
It goes such a long way.
It's amazing how much freedom you give a caregiver when you're just willing to come for a little while. There are meal prep services that you can get into. And of course, I understand that like finances come into play with all of this. But you may be able to get help that can pay for these kinds of things too. But cleaning help is really important. Like if you don't have to think about cleaning, that's one huge thing lifted off of your plate.
Yeah.
If you can have someone come in and our daughter, Catherine, one of her clients hires her to come in and do a little bit of cleaning and sit with this older gentleman who has dementia. And while she cleans, she also knows she's in charge of the husband. And the wife gets to go out. She gets to go grocery shopping, meet with friends, just be off duty. And then Catherine takes him to his golf friends, and his golf friends take him on a round of golf, and he's then cared for by them. So the way that this woman has structured it, she has 2 days a week where she has like 7 hours off.
Yeah.
So wise, so smart.
Yep.
So how can you do that? What can you do to give yourself some breaks? You need some outside support. Maybe you want to look into rideshare for appointments. How about church and community volunteers? Your church probably wants to help. They just don't know how.
Yeah.
So you as the caregiver, part of your advocating for the situation is to get your church involved and know how they can help.
Well, and that's the thing is like you have to keep them up to date. Because
yes.
Literally, I found out one of our people is having surgery today on Facebook. They posted on Facebook. That's the only way I
had
knew.
no idea until Facebook.
It's the only way I knew.
Let us know so that we can support you. We want to support you.
I was scrolling and I was like, oh, she's having surgery today.
Yeah. So, of course, I'm thinking, like, we need to, when's she getting home? We've got to get some meals together. How can we help her? Does she need housework?
So, like, that's exactly what church is for.
Yes.
Like, your church family is there to help support, encourage you during these difficult times. And they want to. Mm-hmm. Like, they honestly want, I'm telling you, as a leader of a church, they want to help you.
Yes.
They just don't know how unless you tell them how.
And it could be as simple as like, can you come over for 2 hours and just sit with them and talk with them? That'll be my break. I'm just going to take that 2 hours and have a break. And if they need water, grab my spouse a cup of water. Like, it's no big deal. Yeah. And yet they will be so happy to have a purpose, to get to spend some time with your spouse and encourage them. And you get the break. And maybe it goes as far as needing professional home health services. So maybe that is the direction you need to go, and you need to get some guidance from professionals on like, how do I get grants or, help paying for this. But looking into all of that and remember this, okay? Accepting help does not mean that you are failing. It means that you care about sustainability. You're realistic. You're thinking about the long term, right? It is not wrong to get help. So don't be so proud that you don't get help and you're actually hurting your family.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, I'm not trying to add to your guilt or anything, all right? But understand that not accepting help is an area of pride. And let that go. Get the help that you need so that you can do this long term. You want to sustain your own health too, so that you can be there for your spouse.
Well, and it is about the best long-term care for you and your spouse. And doing everything in the short term, like, that may be the best care they get in the short term. But long term, that's not going to be the case. Mm-hmm. And so you want to make sure that you are the best person you can possibly be to take care of them long term, but also that they're going to get the best long-term care as possible as well.
Right.
And I think a part of this, and Lysandra mentioned, making sure that you take care of yourself long term, because if I don't take care of myself long term, no one's going to care about Lysandra's health more than me.
Absolutely.
And so if I don't keep myself healthy in a place where I can help her, that will affect her long-term care. Mm-hmm. And so part of that is keeping parts of your life that are just yours. Mm-hmm. And I think this is really crucial, whether that's hobbies, friendships, exercise. Like one of the things I do, I get up at 4:00, maybe sometimes a little before that. I get up, I go to the gym for a while before everybody else is up. Maybe it's spiritual practices, making sure that you are taking time for that. Personal goals, alone time to recharge, refresh. Mm-hmm. And the key here is your identity is not reduced to caregiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like you are so much more than that. Yep. I am so much more than that.
Yeah.
And maintaining your personhood actually strengthens your ability to love your spouse well. Mm-hmm. And they truly do want that for you, even if they can't verbalize it. They want you to be as well as possible in this journey as well.
Yeah, they do. And part of this is guarding your emotional health long term. Okay, because when you're a caregiver, especially for a chronic illness, then it can create this silent emotional trauma. So you've got to protect your heart. And I think one of the ways that you can do this is by making church a priority, going to church. So whether you need to ask church people to take turns coming in and sitting with your spouse so that you can go to church. Like, you need to go to church, because that is the place where you're going to get spiritually refreshed. You're going to have people there who care about you, who can keep connected with you and pray for you. And you can fill people in on how it's going. You need that time of worship. This is part of protecting your own emotional longevity.
Well, and it helps in the best way possible to fight off the issues that come with isolation. Mm-hmm. That feeling of alone and discouragement and everything else. There's no better place to find that encouragement.
Yep.
So
absolutely, you need church.
I think about one of the dear ladies in our church, Betty, who has now passed. But she was taking care of her husband, Dave, and Dave is he's still doing okay. He's fighting cancer, but she would come every other Sunday.
Yeah.
And he would watch online. He still watches our church online all the time, interacts with us in the communication ways that we've made possible for him. But she would, while she was able to, she would come every other week. Mm-hmm. And so it's like she would stay home with her husband and watch church one week, and the next week she would show up and she would worship and find that encouragement. I think that's such a great thing. But figuring out how you can do that. For them, that was how it worked every other week. So,
and in that same vein, taking time to spend time in prayer, in Bible reading, listening to positive music. Maybe you need to see a therapist. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's scripture memorization. But all of these things to invest in your own emotional and spiritual health so that you can be long-term.
I think another thing... And this becomes, I think, difficult over time. We've got to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
And that is practicing honest, gentle communication. Mm-hmm. And just being open with your spouse. Saying things like, I love you and I'm struggling today.
Yeah, right.
I want to be here for you. Here's what I have energy for right now. Mm-hmm. How can we adjust this together? I think that healthy caregiving is built on truth, not silent resentment or self-erasure or becoming a martyr, right? You're still married to each other. And, that openness and honesty, that open communication. Now, obviously you don't want to lay more of a burden on them, but they need to know how you're doing as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so... over time, I think that becomes a little more difficult, and you just have to choose to be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And also schedule rest like it's an appointment. Actually put it on the calendar so that you will rest. You must rest. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, right? Like
you need this more than anybody.
I need it more than I should be preaching to myself is what I mean. But one evening per week, that's just yours. Or maybe it's 10 to 20 minutes every single day. It's quiet time for me, rest time. Maybe it's like every day I'm going to watch this TV show. I'm going to watch one episode of this TV show because it allows me to veg out and shut my mind down or whatever. Don't wait till you're already exhausted, which I'm guessing if you're listening to this episode, you're probably already exhausted as it is. But take time for rest and have it on the calendar so that it actually happens.
Well, and that's part of I think you include that in part of your plan as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, okay, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to make sure that whatever the morning routine is, I'm going to make sure they go to the bathroom, they have their water, they have their breakfast, their medicine, whatever it is. And then once I know they're set, okay, I'm going to go take half an hour and I'm going to kind of get myself ready emotionally, spiritually, and everything else for the day, and having that little bit of quiet time. And maybe a similar routine at night where it's like, okay, I know they're good for this period of time. Now I'm going to take a few minutes to watch a comedy or do whatever, kind of just make that part of your routine.
Yeah.
And I think another important thing that you have to figure out is how to keep the relationship, not just the caregiving your spouse still needs as your partner. Like, you're not just a nurse; you are their spouse. And we have some great friends of ours, Sam and Adrian. And Adrian has been dealing with issues for years and years and years. And I've told Sam this, like, I think he is the best example of what a godly husband looks like that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, he's amazing. It's amazing.
The love, the self-sacrifice, and everything else that he does to make sure that his wife is taken care of in every possible way is absolutely just so beautiful. And one of the things that I see in them is they have maintained the relationship. That he has not just become a nurse and she's not just kind of become the person that he takes care of. Like, they truly have continued to maintain that relationship of husband and wife.
Which is a two-way street.
They
really
both
have to give into that, and that's so great. They're a great example for sure.
But you've got to think about that as the caretaker, is like, okay, in a way that's possible. Now, for me and Lysandra, it became difficult because, like, her back pain and everything. But
actually, that was, I think, one of the hardest things for you as a caregiver is your number one love language is physical touch. And when he touched me, it hurt me.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't lay close to each other at night. Like, we'd always, and we still do now that I'm healthy again, but he would lay right up against me.
Yep.
And I'd be like, oh, please don't.
Yeah.
I'd be like, please. And so, of course, he'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. And he'd, scooch away. But man, that divide that it put between us.
So we might just might hold pinkies.
Yep.
Right?
And that's all I could handle was like, hold my pinky, but don't move. Don't bump me.
Or I might touch my pinky toe against her pinky toe.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. But it was some sort of physical touch where it's just, we're being husband and wife right now. We're not being patient and caregiver.
Yeah. I mean, talking about things that are non-medical.
I feel like this would be really hard after it's years and years in. Like, it would become like, okay, what medication do you need? What do we want to try? What appointments do we need? And it just becomes like, I'm your nurse.
Yeah. But I think, it's not so much different than even a healthy, couple, right? Where the marriage can just fall into a routine.
Absolutely.
I mean, and the routine obviously for a chronically ill person becomes all about their medical needs and their physical needs. But, keeping that alive, whether you're talking about the latest book you've read, the portion of scripture that you're going through, TV show, what the kids got going on, like just making sure that you're still connecting on things other than the medical stuff. Yeah. Having simple date nights at home, whatever that looks like.
That's a great idea.
Whatever that looks like. Yep. Obviously, date nights are going to be a little bit different with a chronically ill person, but you can still use the creativity.
Yeah.
I think about even in every stage of our marriage, date nights have looked a little bit different depending on what's going on. And so you can still keep that kind of alive.
Yeah. So maybe you need to send the kids off to grandma's or send them to a friend's house that you trust, not necessarily overnight or anything, but for a couple hours or whatever. And okay, this is our date night. We're going to try to get all of the like medical like things that we have to do out of the way before the kids leave. And then when the kids leave, we're going to watch this movie or we're going to have this dinner together or whatever it may be, but calling it date night, making it happen no matter what you have to do to make it happen.
But protecting your marriage keeps you emotionally grounded and reminds both partners of who you are beyond the illness.
That's right. And as there is, there's so much to this that feels frustrating, there's so much guilt involved. We want to encourage you, let go of the guilt.
Yeah.
Let go of it. You are tired. You are exhausted. You are frustrated. You are overwhelmed. Maybe there's some resentment. That doesn't make you unloving or unfaithful. It makes you human.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be human. And understand, too, that guilt drains energy that you need for both your spouse and for yourself and for your kids and for your parents and for your family and everything. Guilt is going to drain that energy. So let grace, not perfection, be your guide.
I like that.
And remember that there is a promise in renewal in the Bible that I just love so much. 2 Corinthians 4:16-18 says this: though outwardly we are wasting away, inwardly we are being renewed day by day. So even as things are difficult and you're physically exhausted and maybe emotionally exhausted, God has that power to renew your heart every single day. He has that promise he gives that my mercies are new every morning. There is an inner life that God can help you with. He can renew you.
And there's so many wonderful promises that
there are.
Hebrews talks about we can come boldly to the throne of grace to find grace to help in time of need.
And that he's near to the brokenhearted. And there's so much. So get into the Word of God and find these encouraging scriptures that can help you through. And if you would like a little bit more information on this, email us at info@familymeeting.org, and you can get this bonus resource, Chronic Illness Marriage Support Guide. And it's just a little bonus resource that can help you dig a little deeper into this topic. Maybe it's something you could go through together with your spouse, and it could help you out. So info@familymeeting.org. That's the bonus resource. All you have to do is email Chronic Illness Marriage Support Guide, and we'll send it over.
So your family meeting tonight's going to look one of two ways. If you are married to somebody who's chronically ill, or you are the chronically ill spouse that's being taken care of, your conversation's going to be, talking about your caretaker. Like if you're the spouse taking care of them, you're kind of checking in and talking with your spouse about how you're doing. How are you feeling? And putting together that plan that we talked about. And figuring out, okay, what can they realistically do for themselves? What can you take care of? What do you need to outsource? And start to talk about some of those things, developing that plan where, hey, we don't just have today in mind. We have long-term, the best long-term possible care for you in mind. And this is how we have to get there. And so you're having that conversation, covering a lot of the things that we talked about here. If you're not married to somebody who's chronically ill, you're not chronically ill yourself, you and your spouse are having a different conversation. You're talking about the people in your life that are dealing with chronic illness. And maybe that's the neighbor that lives next to you. Maybe that's somebody at your church or a family member. And just talking about, hey, what can we do to reach out and kind of ease some of that burden, to become part of the support team, and just provide that little bit of help and hope and encouragement. It doesn't take a lot to go a long way. Mm-hmm. And so it may be hard for them to accept that help at first. So maybe they're not willing to let you just sit with the spouse while they go out and do the grocery shopping or whatever else it is. But you're working to get there, right? So maybe it's just taken by a meal or having pizza delivered, whatever their favorite meal is. Just trying to figure that out. What's a way that we can step in and help somebody to be a little bit of help and encouragement and hope for somebody who's dealing with something that is very difficult to deal with over the long haul.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org. Or you can email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we talk about part 2 of chronic illness in marriage. We're going to explore the challenges the chronically ill spouse faces and kind of look at it from their perspective. We're going to talk about what are the challenges and then, okay, so what are some practical steps that we can implement to help get through this and always thinking long term.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, YouTube, did any of you hear when Thomas, during the family meeting portion, called it chronicle illness?
Yeah. Well,
Did you hear yourself do that?
No.
It was really funny.
But you're chronicling it, I mean.
Yeah, you are. I was trying not to laugh because I'm like, this is not the kind of situation where you want to laugh. But you said chronicle illness, and I was like...
Maybe we should start keeping track of all the times you
No, I don't want to keep track. But it was funny. I enjoyed it. So I hope that you are all ready for Thanksgiving. We hope that you are going to have a wonderful time with family. Remember to take some time to really, truly be thankful for all of the good things that the Lord has done for you. Maybe you want to share with us in the comments some of the things that the Lord has blessed you with, some of the ways that he has taken care of you or the wonderful people in your life. Put that in the comments. Let us know what you are thankful for.
And one of the things we're thankful for is all of you, because without you, we wouldn't have the ability to do this. Yeah. And what your support, your help, your encouragement helps us be there to provide help and encouragement for a lot of different people. So we appreciate you.
Yes. Have a great Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.